and welcome to Game and Read Checkpoint, where we update you on what we've been reading and playing.
So, I don't have a ton of video game stuff, and that's just because I've had a weird week. However, last week I was very happy in that I finally finished a book that wasn't Game and Read related for the first time in a while. That's an accomplishment for me, as I have a tendency to set them down and just think about them and slowly forget them. Anyway, I finished The Last Wish, which is the first Witcher series book, like the Witcher video games, so it's still kind of game related.
It totally is.
And that's by, hold on, I'm gonna get this Polish name right, Andrzej Sapkowski. It's close enough. I'll put it in right here.
Sounds perfect.
We live in Chicago. I've lived around here all my life. I should be better at Polish names than I am, but I'm not, and I blame my German heritage. So, Last Wish is actually, it's not a single cohesive story. It's a collection of short stories that Sapkowski was writing just individually. I think he was submitting them to, like fantasy literature magazines and all that, journals and whatnot. And then he ended up stringing a bunch of them together with kind of this tied together thing. So in between each of the main stories, it goes back to this kind of same scene where Geralt, the Witcher, is hanging out at this temple and healing up from one of his many adventures, and then he's like, oh, remember that time, and it jumps back. So it's a little Canterbury's Tale-ish in that way, except there's only one person telling the stories, and instead of, having different professions, he's a Witcher. He kills monsters, and I liked it overall. A lot of the individual stories were really pretty good. There were a few times where it felt a little too hokey, and I don't know if something got lost in translation, but Geralt's a very kind of badass soldier guy, and then sometimes when those types of people also just have crazy awesome sex randomly, I just get this seems a little too oh yeah. But I will say Geralt as a character is actually fairly grounded in some of the dialogue he has. He doesn't come off as kind of one of those annoying, silent, overly macho things that you would expect from a character who went on to be in a really popular action video game. He actually has pretty solid thoughts on things, part of, how the world is changing in this kind of fantasy-scape, what his place in the world is, a little bit of his own love interest stuff, and I really liked it overall. Additionally, a lot of the stories are tied into some of the classic Grimm tales. There is a Snow White type character, except instead of being a princess, she's a cursed princess who is also trying to murder this wizard who was trying to kill her as a child.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And there are a few other times. There's a Beauty and the Beast type story.
Cool.
So really it ties into a lot of those kind of classic fantasy stories. Sometimes will reference things that are very standard children's fantasy stories and then have a weird dark twist to it. But it's a pretty good collection overall. I am interested in reading other books in the Witcher series, so we'll see where I go from there.
So which came first, the book or the game?
The books, yeah. No, he started writing the books back in the 90s in Poland, is my understanding when I was looking it up. And then they didn't start making the games with CD Projekt Red until 2007 or 8.
Okay.
And it wasn't until Witcher 3 that I had even heard of these games, and it was a really big thing.
Cool. So in the book world, I have been in a little bit of a reading slump. I did the 24 and 48 a couple weeks ago, and that was awesome. And I read Sleeping Giants, and that was awesome. And then I just sort of petered out on books. I was reading Stephen King's The Tommyknockers and DNF, or did not finish that one because there was a scene at which one of the main characters got in a fist fight / got thrown out of a poetry party.
And he got his Tommies knocked.
Sure, because of nuclear energy. He was protesting nuclear energy, and some guys were talking about how it wasn't as harmful as everybody maybe thinks it is, and the main character flipped his stuff and made some real long argument that I'm sure Stephen King spent a lot of time researching, but I don't care.
Remember, the real monsters are people who disagree with you politically.
Yes. So I just could not get into it, which is a bummer because I do love Stephen King, and I found this one in the little library in our neighborhood, but I just didn't do it. It's 700 pages. I'm not wasting 700 pages of my life on the rest of that book. So, womp womp. I am really excited though because it is August, and so I got to pick my August book of the month, which it's always exciting to pick my book of the month. And for August, I am going with The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. So I actually heard about this before I even knew it was a book of the month pick, and it sounds really awesome. It's about this woman who's on a cruise ship, and one night I think she sees or thinks she sees a young woman go overboard. And when this woman who thinks she saw someone go overboard or get hurt or something, she tells the like captain and crew, and they're like, ma'am, no one was checked into cabin 10. Exactly. So
standard mysterious disappearance. Were they really there?
I don't know. So I am really excited. Liberty Hardy of Book Riot picked this one out. She's a judge for Book of the Month, and I am super excited. I heard her talk about it on her podcast, and it sounded really great, and then I picked it, and it shipped. So I can't wait. It's gonna come, and you're gonna hear about it because I'm gonna read it. So that's what I'm doing. I am reading Enchanted Islands by Alison Amond, something like that. It was my June book of the month pick. I am reading that finally, so when I finish it, I'll have more thoughts probably on a very soon Friday reads. So if you're interested in what I think about that, be sure to come back and watch more.
And now, finally, quick announcement. Starting tomorrow, we will be trying to release, and now we hope it works, a Game and Read podcast.
Woo!
So it's going to be more long form, more conversational. We're going to be inviting friends on regularly. This first episode, if you're into Pokemon, we are getting our most Pokemaniac friends from college who get really into it to come and talk to us about all the upcoming Pokemon Sun and Moon news.
Possibly the biggest Poke nerds I've ever met.
I'd be surprised if you'd met bigger ones.
Exactly.
So we're hoping to get into some weird hijinks, so you can check us out. We'll have a post of it on GameandRead.com as always, and hopefully soon on the iTunes store, and hopefully some other podcasty places.
Yep.
And as always, you can see all of our other posts, videos, now podcasts at GameandRead.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Litzy at Game and Read. We post pictures of us at the Ren Fair and other shenanigans.
It only happens once.
But it's really great.
Anyway, thank you for watching.
We'll see you next time.